Maiduguri, Borno state capital, experienced flood in 30 years, devastated town rising from the ashes of insurgency. And NEMA brings succor to victims of windstorm and fire incidents in some parts of Kogi State. This is Panorama, reaching you live from Abuja. I am Frama Panyi. Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, woke up to a flood disaster, magnitude of which was seen last in 30 years, causing massive disruption to social and economic life of the city that's rising from the shackles of a deadly insurgents. Kaigama Mustafa reports that the flood have for the first time submerged the Shehu of Borno's palace, the state secretariat and hospitals. In our studios from Maiduguri is Musa Abubakar to tell us more on the flood issue. Hello, Musa. Good afternoon. Hello, Professor Abubakar. Can you hear me? Good afternoon and welcome to Panorama. Thanks for joining us.
From Maiduguri.
If you can hear me, Professor, can you tell us about the recent flood that just happened last night in Maiduguri? We understand that the last time this incident, or a similar incident happened was 30 years ago. Can you compare the damages from 30 years ago to what happened last night?
I think it's an understatement to say that we haven't seen this flood in 30 years. I think Maiduguri has never seen this type of flood in the history, in the 120 years of the city. So the 1994 flood, yes, there was flood, but this time around, the extent of coverage, the damages that have been caused, although details are yet to emerge, we imagine that the devastation is likely to be higher than that of 1994. So it is only proper to say that Maiduguri has not witnessed this flood in its entire life.
Now, from the environmental point of view, what do you make of the flood that came to Maiduguri, as you just said, as a surprise? Nothing like this has happened before in the state.
Like I said, we haven't seen this type of flood throughout the life of the city. And as I speak to you now, nearly or even more than half of the city is under flood. And this has a lot of implications. It has health implications and a lot of other challenges. Right now, people have been displaced. We are just coming out of an insurgency, and now we are having the flood. So what that means is that all the drainages that used to drain water into the two rivers of Maiduguri are all submerged, and so the soccerways are all underwater. Children, women, men are all now roaming the street looking for where to put their heads. The hospital, the state specialist hospital that people normally go to access healthcare service, we understand is also underwater. The University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital that also takes a large chunk of the burden of patients is also partly submerged. So the situation is really dire, and it's only proper to say that the nation has to activate its the fifth level of catastrophe. That is the fifth level of response. That is the catastrophic response, because we are in a catastrophe at the moment.
Is the compromise of the Alau Dam a contributing factor in this flood?
Yes, we woke up this morning to a press release from the Ministry of Information that the Alau Dam, part of the Alau Dam has collapsed. And I think that is the number one reason for this large, submergence of the city with water. And so this dam has impounded large quantities of water that used to irrigate crops, that is also used partly to support the underground water in Maiduguri, to upscale the water needs of the city. Now it appears they can no longer hold on to it, so the dike, or part of the dike, we learned has collapsed. And this is what has led to this sudden increase in the volume of water into the city. And to compound this problem is the fact that large channels that lead water into the streams. There are two streams in Maiduguri, the Alo River, or what people refer to as the Ngada River, and Gadabul River. These two rivers are the main rivers that take, the excess water from the city and then discharge or drain them into the Jere Bowl. Now, both rivers have filled to capacity, and to add to that, the collapse of a section of the dam. And so we woke up to a sudden increase and submergence of the city in water. And this is exactly the situation we are in. So I think it's an engineering failure, but the environmental part also is that large sections of the city, around the city, people have felled trees for charcoal production, for firewood, that obviously should have reduced the flow of water into the rivers. And so what that means is that the time taken to drain water into the soil has been significantly reduced. And this only means that runoff will automatically find its way into the Alo River and subsequently overwhelm the dam. Perhaps that is what has caused the excess water that led to the collapse of the dam.
Right. Professor, you mentioned engineering and, some human activities as some of the causes. Is climate change playing a role in places like Maiduguri for such a phenomenon to occur?
This is just what we are witnessing. There is no better evidence to prove the fact that climate change is a reality. Some of us have been doubting and even saying it is a scientific error and so on. But I think what is happening now in Maiduguri and a few other cities because of the excess rainfall that has led to collapse of dam is a very, very strong indicator of climate change, especially if you just juxtapose this against the backdrop of what is happening in parts of Nigeria, especially the middle belt of Nigeria. Take, for instance, areas like Niger State, Kwara State, Kogi State, Taraba, Adamawa, Plateau State. These have witnessed significant reduction in rainfall amounts this year. Now, ideally, these are areas that have higher rainfall than the extreme northern part of the country. But here we are, the northern part is now almost flooded. Large volumes of water have led to collapse of bridges, of dams, have taken over the roads, especially intercity roads. Federal highways have all been submerged. And so if you look at this happening in the extreme northern part of Nigeria against the backdrop of what is happening in what we call the middle belt, I think it's only fair, only reasonable to conclude that these are all indicators of climate change. And if anybody is doubting that fact, this year has only gone to prove the reality of climate change. And all we need to do is to see how we can live with climate change, how we can mitigate the impact of climate change.
Abubakar Mongono, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. And please do stay safe in the state while you move around.
Thank you.
Right. Now, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has distributed relief materials to victims of windstorms and fire incidents in various communities within Kogi and Lokoja local government areas of the state. The Director General of NEMA, Zubaida Umar, made the presentation to the head of operations for the Abuja Kogi office. Abdusalam Mohammed's report is here presented.
Concerns about the well-being of citizens affected by economic and environmental challenges, the federal government, through the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has provided relief materials. The initiative, supported by President Tinubu's administration, aims to assist vulnerable communities in Lokoja, Kogi Federal Constituency. NEMA's Director General emphasized the government's commitment to address citizens' needs, especially during difficult times. The agency assures the public of the provision of relief materials and household items to those in need.
We will hand over these items to the Honorable, and I know the Honorable brought it down so that you share with your brothers and sisters.
Please, I want to use this opportunity to advise our people that are staying by river banks should please leave.
The Director General thanked the member representing Lokoja Kogi Federal Constituency, Danladi Agui, for promptly reporting the situation to the authorities.
And I can show you there's going to be shared judiciary. No matter how little it is, it will go around.
Accident in Jamatan, we are very grateful.
This relief effort brings hope to communities that have faced challenges and demonstrates the importance of swift government action in times of crisis.
The Nigeria Labour Congress has confirmed the release of its president, Joseph Ajero, from detention. NLC Head of Information Benson Upa says Ajero was released late night after hours of detention by the security agency. The NLC president was picked up by the DSS at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, en route to the United Kingdom to attend a trade union congress. Meanwhile, NLC has summoned an emergency meeting of the National Executive Council to address the issue. We'll take a short break now, after which Adiola Komiakere will be taking over of Panorama in our Lagos studio.
Just further in suicide prevention, I have with me Dr. Olugbenga Oweye, Medical Director, Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, Lagos. Thank you for agreeing to share your thoughts with us on Panorama.
Thank you for having me this afternoon.
All right, now, we know what suicide is all about, somebody taking his or her own life. All right, we're not going into the definition. Now, what we're going to be talking about is, are there adequate data, on reported or poor documentation of suicide cases in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. As at now in Nigeria, there is no adequate data on this issue. And this is mainly due to the issue of stigmatization. Most of the cases of suicide or failed suicide, they are not really exposed. They are hidden. The family member tend to protect it because of the issue of stigmatization. And as a result of this, they don't come forth for us to document. But those ones that we see physically on the bridges, along the highways, these ones, they are not just enough for us to put together.
Okay, still talking about stigmatization. Are there cultural stigmatization and social taboos that often trail the trend in this part of the world? Can it be stopped or reduced?
Yes, some of the stigmatization and the taboo towards suicide can actually be stopped because some of them are very obnoxious. For example, when you hear somebody commit suicide in a family, definitely nobody will want to marry from that family. Also, those who commit suicide, the way they are buried there is this taboo that you must not touch them unless certain things were done. In some culture in Nigeria, what they do is to just dig a hole under them and now cut the rope, allow them to fall inside, and the tree also will be cut, and all sorts of things. And because of all this taboo and this stigmatization, people tend to hide the cases of suicide.
All right, suicide has been called, a mental problem. Why is it a mental issue?
Thank you very much. Usually, suicide is said to be associated with mental illness because over 90% of suicide cases has underlying what we call mental health conditions. And this ranges from depression, schizophrenia, drug abuse. All these various types of mental health conditions tend to manifest with some suicide attempt or suicidal ideations.
All right, now there is this saying that suicide is the third leading cause of death in the world, and globally about 3,000 suicide cases are recorded daily. Now, with this alarming rate, how can one tell a sign that, how can you know somebody that is suicidal?
Yes, actually there are some telltale signs of suicide that family members, colleagues at work can really recognize, or friends that they can recognize in those people who are likely to commit suicide. The first thing you see them is that they talk and they write about death or dying. They tend to express the willingness or the readiness to die. And that is number one thing. Number two thing, which is just a subtle but very dangerous among it, is what we call hopelessness. They don't see anything about the future, and they tend to give up easily. And if that one should occur, there will be a major disaster any moment. And in addition to that, they also have some what we can call mood instability. Sometimes they become depressed, sometimes they have personality issues, and all these things, when you put them together, you see that their ability to withstand suffering or challenges tend to be low, and as a result of this, they can take their life.
All right, now there is a ratio 3-to-1 men to women,
Yes.
of suicide. Now, what simple rehabilitation process should affected families adopt to, reposition the thought process of a suicidal person?
Yes, the main thing that we need to do as family is to express support for this group of people. You need to care for them. You need to take them to appropriate places for intervention. You take them to the family physician to assess when you see somebody expressing desire to die. And after being assessed by the family physician, they will be referred either to the psychiatrist or to the psychologist for appropriate interventions.
Okay, I will take you off before I ask one last question on suicide.
Yeah.
We are having flooding hazards and disaster, in different parts of the country as we speak now.
Yes.
How can victims, manage the trauma?
Yes, thank you very much. When you talk of either man-made or natural disaster, they come with their own problems, most especially either physical trauma or psychological trauma. And the trauma arising from such needs to be managed. After rescuing those people from those natural disasters, there is need for debriefing, taking them to psychologists or psychiatrists for them to be debriefed, and adequate care taken for their mental health. With this, they will be able to really manage their life, because as a result of this flooding, they will be displaced. Their means of livelihood will be cut off. Yeah. And as a result of this, they need to survive. So the support of the general populace is very necessary. And also the mental health expert has an important role to take care of these people.
Okay, finally, when a suicide mission is aborted, what happens to the person? I mean, is there any policy that, helps that person?
Thank you very much. When a suicide attempt failed, then there is need for us to care. But the law of Nigeria, as we are talking now, the law of Nigeria tends to criminalize suicide. So when you try to commit suicide as a result of suffering, you'll be punished for it.
Instead
Even
of-
those who are ready to support or care or treat them, they may also be culpable.
Okay, so what should be the right thing to do?
Yeah, the right thing is for our legislators, the judiciary, to help us look into this issue of this obsolete law concerning suicide in Nigeria, help us review it, and then come up with something new that will allow us to care for those who tend to attempt suicide and treat them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olubenga Oweye.
Thank you.
For your thoughts with us on Panorama.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, it's now time for us to take some sporting stories.
After a 3-win in the AFCON 2025 qualifying series against Benin Republic, the Super Eagles of Nigeria are set to take on their Rwanda counterparts in another qualifier Tuesday afternoon in Kigali. The Augustine Igwevan Tutot side are the favorites to win, as Nigeria have 2 wins and 3 draws against Rwanda in 5 previous international matches. And win for the Super Eagles will put the 3-time African champions in the forefront of picking the ticket to Morocco 2025. And from the ongoing Under-20 FIFA Women's World Cup in Colombia, hostilities continue on Wednesday with a round of 16 matches. Spain is up against Canada, hosts Colombia will entertain South Korea, while Nigeria's Falconets will be on duty on Thursday against Japan. The stakes are high for the Nigerian girls, already plotting the downfall of one of the tournament's most dominant teams with 13 goals. In grassroots tennis development, David Edward and Gloria Samuel are champions of the under-16 categories of the 2024 Central Bank of Nigeria Junior Tennis Championship. Edward defeated Dubem Amasiani 4-0 to win the under-16 boys event, while Gloria Samuel beat Good News Aina 3-2 in the All-Ekiti State Energy Sapping Final to claim the girls under-16 title. It was double victory for Gulok Tasso from Benue, who defeated Ikem Amasiani from Abuja 3-1 to lift the boys 12 under trophy, and Ombul Isaya Aya from Lagos 3-1 in the under 14 boys final to emerge champion.
Good luck, Tasso from Benue, a new talent who emerged recently, has been confirmed to be a true world-class potential.
Atilala of Lagos State, however, overpowered Bisola Ogunkolade from Ekiti State 3-0 to emerge the under-14 girls champion, while Success Godwin of Lagos State outclassed Mabubat Razak from Oyo State 3-1 to win the girls under-12 category. With sports update, Olumide Eguntola, NTA News.
And that's Panorama concluding from Lagos. Thanks for watching. I am Adeola Komiakere.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.